bet y'all can kind of guess what I'm going to talk about today. Let me give you a hint. I'm not going to be too much of a nerd today. But I just want to say I'm a Cowboys fan. And that's apparently that's super controversial at times. But I've always been a Cowboys fan, even since I was little. I remember watching games with my dad and really not understanding what was happening, but I remember when he got mad when they lost. And I don't know, that just kind of stuck when I was like 3 or 4. I just remember my dad yelling at a TV about these guys that looked like superheroes, like throwing a football around. I don't know. So let me tell you something. I've been on this earth for 23 years, and I've seen a lot of Dallas Cowboy history. I watched when Tony Romo played his first game in 2006. I watched his last game in 2017. I've seen Dez Bryant almost catch a touchdown to send the Cowboys further on in the playoffs. I've seen hundreds of players start and end their career as a Dallas Cowboy. But at the same time, there's a lot of Dallas Cowboy history I haven't seen either. As in, the last time that the Cowboys won a Super Bowl was in 1996, which is 3 years before I was born. So I never got to see it. Also, they haven't made an NFC championship, which is the game before the Super Bowl. So they haven't even been close to a Super Bowl since 1996. They haven't even been to the game before the Super Bowl since 1996. Heck, I haven't even seen a Dallas Cowboy quarterback that my dad actually liked my entire life. So there's a lot of things I haven't seen. But here's the thing. Even though the Cowboys haven't been to the Super Bowl since 96, the Cowboys have 8.5 million fans. That makes them the number 1 fan base in the NFL. And it's funny because out of the 8.5 million fans that they have, I can tell you 3 types of fans. Three types of Cowboys fans. There's only 3. And they might be like meshing with each other. There might be people that are going towards one, but not really all the way. But there's 3 fans I can think of. Number 1, they'll love to hate the Cowboys. Number 2, they hate to love the Cowboys. And number 3, the super fan. So I want to talk about those a little bit today, and then put a little Jesus twist to it, and then just kind of have fun with it. So number 1, well, I don't need that Bible verse memorized or anything. Number 1, the love to hate the Cowboys. So these people are the Cowboy Nation, or are the parts of the Cowboy Nation that hate the Cowboys. They hate on them so much that they actually are bigger fans of the Cowboys than actual fans are. If that makes sense, right? There's people that hate the Cowboys, and they hate to rag on them, and they hate to talk really bad about. My dad is a hate to love Cowboy. Or love to hate the Cowboys. I'm sorry, I'm backwards. My dad loves to hate the Cowboys. He'll watch every football game of the Dallas Cowboys so he can talk bad about everything that they did during that game. But he always says that he's a fan of the Cowboys. I don't understand it. But these certain fans are the fans that know every stat of the Cowboys. They watch every down of the Cowboys. They know all of the careers of all of the players in the Cowboys. Where did they go to the college and how bad they did in college, right? You can't hate a certain team if you don't know anything about the team, right? You have to know stats. You have to know about the team to hate the team. You know who this kind of sounds like to me? And it's going to sound weird, and I need you to keep up with me, okay? The Pharisees, the religious leaders. Have you ever noticed that 90%, I'm going to throw out a number, I say 90, like 90% of Jesus' ministry, there was always a religious leader there in his back pocket telling him everything he did wrong. Everything. Like everything he did, you always read that there was a Pharisee or a religious leader there to tell Jesus everything he did wrong. From the very beginning, there was a religious leader questioning Jesus. What's crazy is that they knew where Jesus was at all times. They knew what he was doing. They watched the miracles that he was doing. And they questioned everything that he did the whole time through his ministries. The thing about that is when they watched this stuff, they would always go back and group up and talk about how bad Jesus was, right? They always talked to each other. It's gossip, right? They always talked about how bad Jesus was. They talked about how bad his miracles were, everything that he did wrong. But the thing that they didn't see is that every time they talked about Jesus, they made somebody interested in going to see Jesus. You see how that worked? Like if I tell you about something, you're going to have a tiny piece of interest into something I tell you. They talked so bad about this Jesus guy, and then they started getting his name around. They were doing ministry, and they didn't even know about it. They were throwing Jesus' name around. They were talking so bad about Jesus that, man, these guys been talking about Jesus for the last 2 weeks. I guess I have to go see what this is about. So someone goes and listens to Jesus minister. They listen to his sermons, and they see his miracles. I bet you that there's people that were told about Jesus from the Pharisees and the religious leaders that got saved at Jesus' sermons. They were throwing Jesus' name around because they hate him so much. They were doing Jesus' work. They were doing God's work they didn't even know about. The thing, where it connected me is, do you think all Cowboys fans were fans at the very beginning of when they started to watch the Cowboys? I can promise you, I know about 10 people right now that were not fans of the Cowboys like 5 years ago. But the thing is the media throws out the Cowboys' names and they talk so bad about the Cowboys that it piques interest into watching the Cowboys. The Pharisees didn't know that they were doing ministry. Isn't that cool? They didn't know that they were actually doing mission work, but they were. They were bringing Jesus, or they were bringing people to Jesus. They might have walked in with a hated heart, but they didn't leave with a hated heart. Let's talk about number 2. Number 2 is the hate to love the Cowboys. So the first one was love to hate the Cowboys. They loved to hate the Cowboys. You see where I'm coming? Now this one is I hate loving the Cowboys. You see how that works? I love to hate the Cowboys is the first one. I love to hate the Cowboys. So hatred in my heart, right? This one is I hate to love the Cowboys. I just wanted y'all to keep up with me there. These are the fans that for the first half of the season, These are the fans for the first half of the season. They're in love with the Cowboys. They are supporting them full-heartedly. So let me tell you something about the Cowboys. Ever since I was little, the Cowboys always started very well in the season. The first half of the season, they will go two-game win streak, 3-game win streak, 4-game win streak. And when that happens, man, here comes these fans. Woo, we're going all the way, Super Bowl, woo, right? Every year. And then the actual Dallas Cowboy team starts sticking their necks out. They'll get 1 or 2 injuries. They'll affect their lineup a little bit. And then after that, it starts looking a little rocky for them. They'll lose a couple of games, and then they'll win one, and then they'll lose a couple more games. All the way until season 18, or not season 18, week 18, which is the last game of the season, right? And this game, since I was little, is always, is the Cowboys going to make it into the playoffs, or are they going to miss the playoffs? There's never been, oh, the Cowboys are kind of comfortable, and they have like a 3-4 game like win to be in the playoffs. They didn't have that comfortable like pillow right there, you know? They always was like, we're either going to win or we're going to lose, but let's hope we win, right? It was always the thing that gets my adrenaline going right there. It's like, how did we go from being the best team in the conference to almost missing the playoffs, right? So the thing is if they win, they go to the playoffs, and if they lose, they miss the playoffs. And once they make it into the playoffs, they either lose the first game or they lose the second. They never go far into the playoffs, right? See, but this is what happens when with the woo, we're going to the Super Bowl fans. This is what happens to them. When it starts getting rocky and it starts looking a little shaky, they become quiet. You don't hear anything from them. You don't see any Facebook posts about the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl this year. They're embarrassed. They're embarrassed of the Cowboys. These fans remind me of the disciples when they were in Jesus' ministry. When Jesus was going through his ministry. All throughout Jesus' ministry, up to the resurrection, the disciples were really strong until the situation got rough. And now hear me out, and and that might be like a controversial thing because the disciples are really cool, right? Trust me on this. When things got rough, the disciples got shaky. Up to the resurrection and up to when they got baptized in the Holy Spirit. Because after that, they were awesome. They were like superheroes after that. They were like full of energy and was going through and like preaching to 3,000 people and getting people healed and saved, right? They were like superheroes after that. They were learning about Christ in this point. They were learning how to live with Christ, right? So this is kind of like their teaching part. So let's go to Matthew 8:23. Tim's going to have it on the thing right here. And this is when they're at the ocean, right? Or at the Sea of Galilee. They're sailing across it, right? It says, Jesus got on the boat and started across the lake with the disciples. Suddenly, a fierce storm struck the lake, the waves breaking into the boat. But Jesus was sleeping, and the disciples went and woke up Jesus, shouting, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." Jesus responded, "Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." Then he got up, rebuked the wind and the waves, and suddenly there was a great calm. So when things started going back. Like, they were on top of the world right now. You know, they're with Jesus. They're like homies with Jesus. They're strutting their stuff. Then the waves got rocky. It got bad for them. The first thing they did is they ran to Jesus and like, we're going to die. Jesus is like, what happened? I was asleep for like 10 minutes. Where did your faith go? We were like good. What happened? They didn't have strong faith. Their faith wasn't strong. It wasn't there yet. Right when things got rough, they ran to Jesus and they're like, we're dying, and you're just sitting here sleeping. What happened to the faith? Jesus tells them how little their faith was all throughout the ministry. Matthew 17, verse 17. I don't know if he has it up there yet. It says, where am I at? It says, Jesus said, you faithless and corrupt people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy here to me. So what's going on here is that the disciples couldn't exorcise this demon out of this little boy. Jesus looks at him and says, where's your faith? It's not strong enough. They didn't have strong faith. This happens all through till the crucifixion. Matthew 26:31. 26:31. This is when Jesus is eating with his best friends. This is when everyone's like, yeah, we're good. We got Jesus. He just ate with us. We're having dinner. We're good. He leaves and he says, on the way, Jesus told them, tonight all of you will desert me. For the scripture says, God will strike the shepherd and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you to Galilee and meet you there. Peter declared, even if everyone leaves you, even if everyone else deserts you, I will never desert you. Jesus replied, I tell you the truth, Peter. This very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. That you even know me. I'm sorry. You will deny me 3 times that you even know me. And we know how the story goes. Jesus gets arrested. I'm getting taken. Peter is one of his best friends. He's one of the 3 homies, his closest friends. Right? Jesus getting taken. They're asking Peter, hey, don't you know that guy? I don't know him. I don't know anything. I have nothing to do with him. And then another guy walks up, Peter, or, hey, I've seen you before. Weren't you with this Jesus guy? I don't know anything about him. I wasn't with him. He gets asked again because he has a certain accent, right? They're like, hey, the accent isn't around here. Aren't you with this guy? And he tells them, put a curse on me. I don't know this man. Curse me. You can't tell me this guy, his faith is super strong, right? You can't tell me his faith is super strong when the Son of Man, the guy, your Lord, is getting arrested, and you're like, I'm never going to leave your side. I will not deny you once. When things get rough, he's like, bye. When things got rough, the disciples were little shaky on that, right? And you're like, where's the other disciples? Psh, they weren't any better. They ran for the hills. Most of them went back to the job that they were at before Jesus got to them. When things got rocky, they split. I put the disciples were cool after the Pentecost, and then I felt really bad about roasting them. That's what I actually put in my notes. I felt really bad. Because they're like the superheroes of the Bible, right? Like these are the 12 people that flipped the whole world around, right? And then I'm like sitting here roasting them. Like, God help me, right? Number 3, let's talk about the super fan. Now you know what I'm talking about, right? Super fan, where like they'll paint their face. Some weird people will paint their whole chest, paint the whole back. They'll like shave numbers into their chest hair because that's exactly what everybody wants to see. What's funny is the Cowboys, they have the number 1 largest fan group, right? Fan based. But they're number 3, well, they're like top 3 in the most annoying fan base out there too. Just a little fun fact there. Yeah, number 1's like Philadelphia or like Oakland Raiders. Whatever. If it's not the Cowboys. See, what's funny about these guys, the super fan, is no matter what happens during the season, the Cowboys can go 0-17 because of bye week. 0-17 in the whole year. And they'll be like, woo, we're going to the Super Bowl next year. And I'm like, how? How can you say that? I'm a fan. I can't even say that. Yeah, it's our year. We're going to Super Bowl. No, we won 0 games, and our quarterback's like has a broken leg. Why do you think this stuff is going to happen? See, here's the thing about these fans. They put an unrealistic expectation on the Cowboys every year. You see where I'm coming from? They put an unreal expectation on the Cowboys every year. The Cowboys went 0-17 last year. They're going to win the whole championship next year. How? We're going to win a game this year. How are we going to win a championship next year? They put an unreal expectation on the Cowboys. Here's the thing, though. We do that with Jesus. We put Jesus in a box. And we say, Jesus, I'm dealing with this situation. And if you don't do it a certain way, if you don't help me a certain way, then you're not doing it right. We expect him to fix a situation our way. We're expecting him to do it our way. My boss tells me this. This is one of the best things my boss ever told me. He says, unmet expectations will always lead to frustrations. Is this thing working? Unmet expectations will always lead to frustration. When something happens and we expect Jesus to do it a certain way, we expect him to do a certain way, and he doesn't, we get frustrated, right? We get angry because he doesn't do it our way. the thing is like, when Jesus was coming into Jerusalem, riding on a donkey, the crowd was cheering for him. They were cheering for him to overthrow Caesar. They were expecting a king to lead an army to start a coup and throw Caesar out of like power. That's what they were expecting. They didn't get that. They expected something. Jesus turned around and they were like, that's not how I'm going to do it. And I promise you, the people were frustrated and angry about it. You could see people in Jerusalem come up to Jesus on the cross and was like, you're supposed to save us. Where are you? You can't even save yourself from the cross. They were frustrated with him. They were expecting one thing. They didn't get it. So you're probably wondering why I'm talking so much about the Cowboys. You're probably like, I want to go home. Like, I want to eat. I want to go lay down in bed, right? Because I want to do the same thing. And you're also probably asking, why is this guy still supporting a team who hasn't won a championship since 96, hasn't been close to a championship since 96? He's constantly being disappointed for 20 years. I looked up, and I shouldn't look this up because it made me less of a fan before coming. The Cowboys, since 2000, the year 2000, has a 53% win, which is not that great when you look at it. That's like 22 years, and you only have a 53% in the win column. That's not good. Here's the thing. I will always have faith in the Dallas Cowboys. I'll always have faith that they will do well during the season. I will always have faith that they're going to win a Super Bowl eventually. And it might not be a ton of faith, but it's enough to get my heart going. It's enough to get me moving. It's enough to get me excited about their season. Even though I know it's probably not going to go well, I still have that faith. So Anna, I want you to start passing stuff around. And then I want y'all to go back to Matthew 17 with me. So this is my beautiful girlfriend, Anna. So this is the verse that I was talking about earlier. The disciples had a little boy. They couldn't get a demon out. They couldn't figure it out. So they go up to Jesus. Let's start in verse 20. Actually, let's go to verse 19. It says, afterwards, the disciple asked Jesus privately, why couldn't we cast out the demon? Jesus said, you don't have enough faith. Jesus told them, I tell you the truth. If you had faith, even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it would move. Nothing would be impossible. So what you have in your hand is a mustard seed. Anna, do you have another one in there? Or did you give all of them off? This little thing right here This little thing in this glass container. Jesus said, all you need is faith of a mustard seed, and I will help you move a mountain. Nothing is impossible. All you need is this one little seed. This reminds me of the woman who was bleeding for 12 years. She heard that Jesus was in town. She started crawling through the crowd of people surrounding Jesus. And in her mind, all she was thinking, all I have to do is touch him, touch his robe. That's all I need to do, and he'll heal me. She touched his robe. She was healed instantly. Jesus said, some power left me, and I don't know where it is. Like, who touched me? She stands up. Jesus looks her in the eye and says, your faith healed you. Jesus didn't say, I healed you. He didn't say that. He said, your faith healed you. The fact that you had the courage and the faith that I can heal you, and you crawled through the crowd and you touched my robe thinking, I'm going to save you, you did it. The thing that I love about this verse so much is the fact that Jesus puts it all on us. And he doesn't even ask for a lot. He asks for this little seed here of faith. Now, why did the disciples weren't able to take out the demon from this kid? They might have had faith of a mustard seed, but it wasn't true faith. They were still doubting. You know how I was talking about earlier that when things go bad, it's a little shaky? They didn't have full faith in God. They didn't trust him. God asks you for a little seed, but he wants it a full seed. He doesn't want half a seed. He wants the whole seed to be trusting him. And I give you this to remind you, it doesn't take a lot. This is all he wants, but he wants the whole thing. So, I'm kind of excited about this. We've been making youth shirts behind y'all's backs. I'm sorry.
I had a feeling that I seen the other for 2 weeks.
Here's the front. Here's the back. Why I put this on the back is that this church has been through so much since I've been here, and it's been only a year. We were on the break of this church dying because no one wanted to come out here. This reminds us that this church, we only need a mustard seed. And we're going to grow it. We'll be selling these for youth camp. We're going to be selling them after the garage sale, because the garage sale is stressing us out. Just going to be honest with you. This isn't just for the youth. I just want y'all to know that. This is for all of us. We want the youth to come to camp with us because we want to plant this mustard seed. So this is the time where on Sunday, Becky would be called up and she would play an awesome piano. And this is the time where Pastor would sit here and he would say, this is the time for you and God to get straight. This is the time for you to give him the whole mustard seed. I give you this mustard seed. Put it somewhere where you can see it. We get low and we get down. But we're not out of the fight. This is the time where you need to get straight with Jesus. This is the time that even if you know Jesus, this is the time to be like, hey, Jesus, this mountain's in my way. I'm having surgery tomorrow. I have to have faith in you. Move this mountain for me. And he's going to tell you, give me your seed.